A young, inexperienced street fighter seeking rivals on every corner decides who he wants to become after reading the words written by the most famous undefeated samurai in history. Born in 1581, he would become the best warrior fighter in the world. He had been bleeding and causing others to bleed since birth. A lost child, he transformed into a man. After reading Miyamoto Musashi's principles, he stayed in a small cabin in the forest for days, training every day, sharpening his fists like a samurai sharpens his sword.
Trenér mi těsně předtím, rok předtím, vlastně než jsme šli do toho Japonska, tak mě daroval knihu 5 kruhů, což je kniha od jednoho z nejznámějších šermířů Japonska, samuraje, Miyamoto Musashi, vlastně kde jsou různé předpisy, kodexy života a smrti, v otázkách ohledně otázek života a smrti, ohledně dodržování kodexu nějakého a dodržování pravidel v životě, díky kterým si člověk udržuje za každých okolností tu svou čest, to své čisté jméno.
Jiri Prochazka was born on October 14, 1992 in Czechoslovakia, now known as the Czech Republic. He was an ordinary child like everyone else. When he began to understand life, his father had a stroke at the age of 27 and passed away. Prochazka was only 6 years old. He no longer had a father to look up to. He tried to fill the void by being the class clown, but it didn't work. He lived each day as if it were his last, getting into senseless incidents. He realized he could only calm his inner energy and hatred when fighting. He was always fighting at school. He joined the football team and attacked his opponents at every opportunity. These actions led to his expulsion from the football team. He roamed the streets looking for opponents to fight. He couldn't stop. Fighting helped him release his energy and calm down. When 1v1 fights no longer satisfied him, he joined the football team's fan group. He became a hooligan, involved in fan fights and group clashes. He was a lost child, not even 18 yet. His future seemed destined for either prison or death. One day, a friend showed him matches of the Dutch kickboxer Ramon Dekkers. Dekkers was the angriest fighter of his time, winning 186 out of 224 fights in his career. His anger and aggression intrigued Prochazka. Soon after, he discovered Mirko Cro Cop and Fedor Emelianenko. That day, Jiri Prochazka decided what he wanted to do. He needed to go to a gym and release his energy and anger there. At 16, he started Muay Thai training. From the moment he entered the gym, he saw people working hard and using their energy effectively. As he went to the gym more, he stopped fighting in the streets. He continued his training and participated in amateur tournaments. In 2011, after winning the Muay Thai National World Championship, he decided to become an MMA fighter like Mirko Cro Cop and Fedor Emelianenko. He fully transitioned to MMA. On April 7, 2012, 19-year-old Jiri fought his first MMA match against Stanislav Futera. His opponent started fast and took Prochazka down, planning to win using his wrestling and ground game. But Jiri got up and caught Futera with a left hook, knocking him out in the 55th second. 4 months later, in his second match, he finished his opponent with knees in the first minute of the first round. 2 months after that, he knocked out Martin Vanish. 1 month later, he submitted Strahinja Danic with a triangle choke. Although his MMA career started well, by November 2012, at 20 years old, Jiri Prochazka was still an undisciplined fighter. After matches, he would party all night with friends. In December 2012, he faced Bojan Veličković, who had 6 wins and 1 loss. Prochazka was taken down and suffered his first knockout loss due to successive punches. After his defeat, he won his next 2 fights and then faced Abdulkarim Edilov, a fight that would change his life and lead him to become an undefeated fighter for years. In the first round, Edilov took him down, caught his neck, and made him submit. Following the Abdulkarim Edilov fight, his coach Yaroslav gave him Miyamoto Musashi's The Book of 5 Rings. The writings of a samurai from the 1600s changed Prochazka's entire life. Like Jiri Prochazka, Miyamoto Musashi had lost his father as a child. By 13, Musashi had defeated his first opponent. He traveled across Japan, fighting over 60 people without losing. He was the most well-known undefeated samurai in history. After defeating his enemies, Musashi retreated to a cave where he wrote down his experiences. 500 years later, Jiri read Musashi's words, "Accept everything as it is. Do not regret what you have done. Do not fear death. You can abandon your body, but you must preserve your honor. Never stray from the path." Jiri Prochazka had found his way, following the samurai's path. He found himself in the sentences as he read the book. He had roamed the streets looking for rivals and had lost his father. Like Musashi, he had to dedicate his life to combat and become a man. For him, the modern war was MMA. Jiri Prochazka completely changed after June 2013. He learned the Bushido teachings and dedicated his life to martial arts, changing not only physically physically but also mentally. The book was always with him, guiding him like a compass. After returning, he knocked out undefeated Oliver Doring in the first round. 2 months later, he fought Martin Schulk for the Czech Republic Championship. For 3 rounds, they brutally exchanged punches. Nearly exhausted, Jiri delivered a jumping knee, knocking out his opponent. He won his first championship in his country, and the fight was named Fight of the Year. Prochazka's MMA record was 11 wins and 2 losses. To earn more money and fight more opponents, he went to Moscow in December 2014. His Russian opponent, who said, "I watched his fights. He has many weaknesses, could do nothing during the match. He tried to take Prochazka down, but ended up underneath him." The fight went to the judges' decision after 3 rounds, with Jiri Prochazka in control. However, the judges' decision was nonsensical. They declared a draw, and even the audience booed their own fighter. Jiri returned to the Czech Republic, won 2 consecutive fights, and then went back to Russia, knocking out his opponent in the first round. In 2015, Jiri Prochazka made the biggest decision of his career. The Czech samurai who embraced samurai principles went to Japan. In 2015, a tournament called Rizin World Grand Prix was held in Japan, featuring 8 talented fighters worldwide. The winner would receive a $300,000 check. The matches were in the heavyweight division, and Prochazka's first fight was against Olympic judo champion Satoshi Ishii. In the first match of the 10-minute rounds, Prochazka stunned Ishii with a high kick and then knocked him out with knees on the ground. 2 days later, in the semifinals, he faced Vadim Nemkov. They fought non-stop for 10 minutes, but Nemkov couldn't continue to the second round, and Prochazka advanced to the finals. The same day, he fought Mohamed Lawal in the final. Having fought non-stop for 10 minutes, just an hour earlier, Prochazka could only last 5 minutes against Lawal. He was knocked out by a right hook. The performance of the Czech samurai caught the attention of Japanese audiences, leading the Rizin organization to match him against Kazuyuki Fujita at 110 kg. Although initially taken down, it took Prochazka only 3 minutes to finish his opponent. A few months later, he faced Mark Tanyos, considered one of the future top heavyweight fighters. In the 2-round 5-minute fight, the decision went to the judges, who unanimously declared Jiri Prochazka the winner. Although he wasn't a true heavyweight, today we even talk about him potentially dropping to middleweight. Jiri never refused to fight. At 24 years old, he had fought in 22 MMA matches, losing 2 and drawing 1. After the Mark Tanyos fight, he got injured and was away from fights for about a year. His body needed to rest. Since he started his career, he had fought 3 to 4 times a year. He returned to the Rizin organization and continued to knock out his opponents. He faced Mohamed Lawal for the second time and knocked him out in the 3rd round to become the Rizin light heavyweight champion. Jiri Prochazka, who began his MMA career in 2012 and shaped it with Bushido teachings after his 2013 defeat, had also secured the belt in the Rizin organization. At the beginning of 2020, he had 26 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. Of his 26 wins, 25 were finishes. That year, UFC President Dana White invited Jiri Prochazka to America and signed him to the UFC. In the main event of UFC 251, Usman was set to face Masvidal. In one of the opening fights of the card, Jiri Prochazka was up against Volkan Oezdemir. That night, the Czech samurai was not the favorite. People were skeptical of him, saying that a man with no guard could not succeed in the UFC. Although he stumbled in the first round, making the skeptics smile, he caught Oezdemir with a high kick in the second round. Following up with a right and then an impressive left, he broke into the UFC with force. On May 1st, 2021, he knocked out Dominic Reyes with a spectacular spinning elbow. Initially considered odd, Jiri Prochazka proved to be a true warrior when he submitted Glover Teixeira in the last 30 seconds of the 5th round at UFC 275. Glover Teixeira was the oldest champion in UFC history, having shocked the world by defeating Jan Błachowicz in the previous match. In the fight with Prochazka, Teixeira also performed excellently, taking his opponent down multiple times despite being staggered. Prochazka, being a martial artist, wanted to defeat his opponent on the ground. Although he could have knocked out Glover Teixeira standing, he tried to take him down but ended up on the ground himself. At the beginning of the 5th round, one judge had it a draw, and the other 2 had given the rounds to Glover Teixeira. Prochazka had no choice but to win the final round. With less than 45 seconds left in the fight, Prochazka threw his opponent off and caught his neck. Seconds before losing to Glover Teixeira, he made his his opponent tap out, becoming the new UFC light heavyweight champion. Prochazka had become a champion in every organization he had competed in. After John Jones, the light heavyweight title had changed hands multiple times, and it changed again when Jiri Prochazka suffered a severe injury. The vacant light heavyweight championship was taken by Jamahal Hill, who defeated Glover Teixeira, but he too was injured, leaving the belt vacant once more. To crown a new UFC light heavyweight champion, the organization set up a fight between two former champions. Despite Prochazka's strong performance in the first and second rounds against Alex Pereira, he was staggered by a left hook and knocked out by hammer fists. Referee Mark Goddard, who had been rumored to end fights early, was said to have stopped the Prochazka-Pereira fight prematurely. However, Prochazka, admitting he was out, acknowledged the referee's decision and vowed to return better.
I just want to say to all of you, thank you for your support. This is for me just a motivation. Mark Goddard was right. Maybe two, three more seconds and it would be on different way. But happen what happened. I accept that. Watch me now. I'll be back. Stronger than ever. Thank you for your support.
He accepted both defeat and victory as they were. 5 months later, he returned to the cage against Aleksandar Rakic. Before the match, Rakic had ridiculed Prochazka's self-proclaimed samurai status, saying, "I'm the real samurai." In the second round, Prochazka showed Rakic who the true European samurai was by knocking him out. After the match, addressing Rakic's week-long taunts, Jiri said, "I am not a samurai, just an ordinary man in the Czech Republic who embraces samurai principles." On June 29, 2024, he faced Alex Pereira once again. You can learn the details of the match by watching the video in the top right cards. In the intense fight, he was staggered by Potan's high kick at the start of the second round and was knocked out by punches. After the fight, Jiri Prochazka shared a video saying, "I need to reach the next level, or I shouldn't fight anymore." Jiri Prochazka is one of the most intriguing fighters in the UFC. We hope he doesn't lose his warrior spirit and continues to provide us with excellent matches. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, don't forget to subscribe, leave your thoughts in the comments, and like the video. Take care and stay healthy.